I'm so grateful that you're here and we're together today for my workshop series, Say Yes to Intentional Significance. Say yes to intentional significance, and we're going to talk today on the first day about unconditional love. And what does that mean? What is unconditional love? Who can do that? Who has ever had it? Who've experienced it? And I'm not really talking about just unconditional love where you love your children unconditionally and you love your pets unconditionally, where there's no, you would give your life for them. I'm talking about everyone. I'm talking about loving everyone. And just so you know, the harder they are to love, the more they need love, right? So unconditional love is something that we receive all the time from God. God is love. If God is love, then he can't be anything else. He loves us unconditionally, and that means he loves Mother Teresa and he loves Hitler. He loves. He's just love. Now, we create our own little hell on earth a lot of times by our actions and stuff, but God doesn't love us any more or any less by what we've done or what we've not done. He is love. If that's the definition of God, God is love, then we are incredibly blessed to be a part of that and receive that. And part of the problem with that is that we don't know how to do it. How do you love? How do you unconditionally love? And I have a little diagram, and this is, I wanted to draw it, and I'll probably do it in color sometime for you, but when we can love God, love ourselves, and I'm going to explain loving ourselves just a little bit, because I've been told I was selfish when I started doing something for myself. Am I selfish, or am I taking care of self? Self-centered is a different definition, but loving yourself is selfish, and we kind of messed that definition. At least I'm using it as my definition. So when you can love God, and then you love yourself, and then you love others, see, there's no strings attached. There's no judgments. It's unconditional love, which gives us complete freedom. Complete freedom. It gives us release to just love people, but so often we have no clue how to do it. And one of the ways, and this is kind of funny because this is so childlike, but I was trying to do it with the computer on a notepad or whatever, and it was all different colors, and it was fun to do, but it didn't translate that well into print. But anyway, gratitude, it requires gratitude. In everything, give thanks. It requires gratitude. It is something we must learn to give thanks in all situations. And that's the way we begin to understand love, unconditional love. And ultimately, it begins with gratitude. It requires forgiveness. It requires forgiveness. And you know what's the deal about forgiveness? We want to forgive God, and we want to forgive ourselves, and we want to forgive others. But so often, we've got to forgive ourselves for forgetting who we are. We've got to forgive ourselves for forgetting that we are powerful beyond measure, that we can do all things, that we've been given the authority to do that, and even more than Jesus did. We have that authority, and we forget that we are that powerful, and then we go into the little self-talk, the little words, and the little negative things. But if we can love God and love others and love ourselves without strings, without judgments, and in everything give thanks and learn to forgive, we have freedom. It's a beautiful combination. It's a structure. It's a diagram of how to do it. Does that mean it's easy? No, we're not. We can't always be it's a learning method. I think we've learned to be judgmental. I don't think we were born that way. I think we've learned to be judgmental. And I want to give an example of some of the ways we can do that. I tell the story about my stove repair guy. And the stove repair guy comes, he called and he's on his way, and he shows up and he's fixing my burners, and he ends up, I engage people, right? So we're chatting, and he starts going off about the the police and the government and the politicians and all this stuff. He's on TV, and by the way, I'm a recluse. I live in a single trailer, and I don't have any friends. And well, wait, I do have a couple of friends, but they are living with or involved with a con artist that I'm never going to be taking advantage of again, ever. And so he's become a recluse. He lives in a single trailer. He's got great ideas about how to change the world, but he's yelling at a television. So as he's talking about all that, and talks about these friends, and talks about the one that he's never going to allow in his life again because it's a con artist. And I said, are you open to hearing something? Have you ever considered just sending them love? And he just almost fell off. He's like, send them love? Are you crazy? They don't deserve love. And I was like, well, how's it working for you, yelling at a television and having no friends? What if you could send them love? And he couldn't grasp that. And I just said, you cannot change that world, but you can change your world. You can change your world. You can step outside the door and you can pick up a piece of trash. You can take a cup of coffee to a neighbor. You can't change that world, but you can change your world. And I said, I'm going to tell you who you are. Who you are is an amazing human being that was put on the face of the earth, that has everything inside of him to do all you're called to do that you are put on this earth to do. You have it all inside of you. You are powerful as a human being placed on this earth, and you can do all things that you're required to do. And I just want you to know you need to love yourself, and you can love others, and you can love. That's unconditional love. And when you can do that, your world changes. So I was speaking in this world, and then I suggested, I said, I have a forgiveness a thought that I want you to look at. And it's kind of an exercise that I created, and I will share that at some point. But basically, I said, can you just look at that other person that you think is a con artist, or the one that hurt you the most, and could you possibly just say, you peel away the layers, and all of a sudden there's a little 5-year-old sitting there crying, and that 5-year-old crying said, I will never be hurt like this again, and so I will never be abused like this again. I will never have that angst done against me. So every single solitary layer that they've built up back out until they are sitting there as the person that you are despising. All they are is protecting themselves from hurt, from the best that they do. They only do what they do from where they come from, and has very little to do with you. And I wrote something, and I told him about it too, and I said, it's my forgiveness release. And the forgiveness release is, I did what I did, and I didn't do what I didn't do. I did all that I knew to do with what I knew at the time, just like you did and are doing in your life right now. I love you. If you can just send love to the people that have hurt you the most and have caused your pain, that you've actually allowed into your world to do that. Because when you recognize that they're just hurt people, it's nothing against you. It's reflecting them almost as a mirror so often. So when we walk around with this spirit of offense, ready to be offended, and we're defensive, you better look in the mirror, because it is you and not them that's causing your reaction. Because we only have this one place where we are right now is the only thing we have. And one of the things that my stove repair guy did, so I thought it was very interesting that he stepped into my world, and he said, "I will never forget you. I will never forget you." And as he was leaving, we stepped out the door, and I said, "Do you mind if I give you a hug?" He said, "This is the first hug I've had in over 5 years." Whoa. People are starving for skin. They're starving for acknowledgement. They're starving for touch. They're starving to be heard. They're starving for a real conversation, real attention. We're on our machines and we're texting and all that, but it's not serving the needs of us. And when people have gone 5 years without a hug, probably with almost no skin touch, maybe a handshake now and then, we are failing as a human race to love each other. And we've got to reach out and love one another. It's just what we have to do. I have Matt Kahn is one of my favorite. On YouTube he's crazy about unconditional love, and he has a book called Whatever Arises, Love That. And he says the world needs more love, not less. And the harder they are to love, the more they need it. More love, not less. We're dying to have love. Unconditional love. And do you think that could solve some of the problems we have in our society going on right now? Got out of that judgment. I want to suggest to you the number one book I always recommend and have for years, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Really, the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't make assumptions. That's number 3. Don't take things personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. Unbelievable how that he describes how to do that in your world. There's a little bit more to the story about the stove repair guy, because after I told him, you did what you did and you didn't do what you didn't do. You did all that you knew to do with what you knew at the time, just like they are doing in their life right now. They absolutely, when you send them love, it doesn't mean you ever stay in an abusive place. It's somewhere that you don't, you will have your boundaries, but you send unconditional love. So Matt Kahn says, a master is one who blesses. And so this forgiveness release that I wrote, there's a lie about forgive and forget, because we don't forget. The key is when we do remember we remember and get hurt again by that situation, when we can just send blessings. And another gentleman, Michael O'Shields, wrote a book called Rethinking Forgiveness, and he has a whole half of a book worth of blessings. Rethinking Forgiveness by Michael O'Shields. When we can send blessings, the hurt begins to lessen. We begin to be able to receive our peace when we can bless others. I have so many resources that I love to share, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you the rest of the stove repair guy story, because he had said, I will never forget you. And a couple of months later, my stove caught on fire. It's really kind of a crazy story. I noticed that my fire extinguisher is behind the stove, and I noticed that I had important things in the stove. So it was really just the burner, so I was able to save the day there and not have a major event. But I called my stove repair guy and said, I just want you to know that my stove caught on fire. I didn't know if it had anything to do with what you did or didn't do. It was obviously needed repair, and I don't cook very often, so I didn't even know. But it caught on fire, and I wanted you to know that if they came back to you about anything. And he said, I was just talking about you about an hour ago. So 2 or 3 months later, he is still remembering me. He told me he would never forget me, and then that day he's talking about me. So the lesson I learned is my fire extinguisher is no longer behind the stove, and my important papers are not in the stove any longer. One of the other things that I want to get across today in our little visit is where you are is the only place you have to start from. So some of this unconditional love, how do we do it? How do we do it on a regular basis? Practical things, sending love when you think of somebody. Do I not have hurt feelings here and there? When I, don't get to see my grandkids or whatever's happening, it's drama that I don't engage in because I'm sending love. Every time I think of someone, send them love and blessings and success, and then you've forgiven someone when you can let them save face and send them blessings. The only place you have to start from is where you are right this single second. And one of my most favorite things to do is when I'm out shopping, which is pretty rare, but I'm going to Walmart or Target or somewhere, and I will I'll ask the checkout person. I'm paying it forward to the people that probably need it most, not a Starbucks person behind me, and I'm asking them, what's their favorite candy bar? I'll buy them a candy bar, make sure you got a receipt or a witness, and do you mind if I give you a hug? They are starving, so many. One lady said, this is the nicest thing anybody's ever done for me. Really, a candy bar? And then I went around and gave her a hug, and she said, you have no idea, my mom found out she was terminal today. Our world is starving. We're striving to survive and financially just get by. And a candy bar is a small thing that makes a huge difference. Sometimes it's such a little deal. And I was at another store, and I hadn't been there in 3 or 4 months, Walmart, I think, and I asked the girl, and she's like, no, I don't need a candy bar, but I will take the hug. She remembered. It's a very small thing. It's all that matters. Just taking care of the person in front of you, loving them where they are, loving them through these unsteady times. Charla Awakened, it was my radio show, and it's because for such a time as this, and it's to love people where they are and to love them through these unsteady times that our world is so crazy right now, but we do not ever walk in fear. No fear. Bold faith, and walk and we are shielded and protected if we take the fear out of our world and we speak what we want and not what we don't want. So we don't want to walk for cancer, do we? We want to walk for health. Let's take the C word out of that vocabulary. This has been a message I've been saying for a long time. Since I first began my radio show, words are mostly important. And I began in 2013 with that. And I'd love for you to watch, go to charla.com and go look at some of those old messages that I've been doing for a long time. I do want to mention something else. I have a friend that introduced me to Benson Agbertogo, and he has a book called The Business System That Never Fails. What happens if you actually partner with the one who knows everyone? He's a great business coach, and I'm enjoying learning from him, and I would encourage you to find him as well. And I have some resources about that, and his website is the neverfailsystem.com, the Never Fail System, www.neverfailsystem.com, and the business system that never fails. I want to reiterate these books that I've come across. The Greatest Salesman in the World, actually Benson had recommended that I start reading this again because I've read it before. And isn't it interesting how things show up? So this morning I didn't have time, but I took it anyway. I'm trying to create new habits again, and was reading, and I had committed to reading 20 minutes a day. So I set my timer, and the thing on the day that I'm talking about Unconditional Love, the chapter was Unconditional Love. I will greet this day with love, and I will succeed. I will greet this day with love, and I will succeed. And it means loving your unlovables totally. It means sending love to your ex, sending love to the politicians that you don't like. What if we got over our judgments of each other and just love? All we need is love. It's the bottom line. Whatever arises of that, we need more love, not less. Whatever shows up, unconditional love. I truly walk in peace because nothing you can say or do is going to keep me from loving you. Period. And if all we could just learn to like the 4 agreements, not take anything personally and not make any assumptions. Get out of the Jerry Springer mentality of I'm going to be offended by everything. And just understand that people are only coming from where they're coming from because of the hurts and their circumstances that they have been put in their world, in their life. We as humanity must do better. We must love one another. And the only place we have to start from is right here and right now. And yes, I've said many times, I would change everything in my world that I've changed. I mean, other than being a flight attendant, pretty much. I've said I would change so many things in my world because I made so many crazy decisions, and there's a lot of things I would change. And every single one of them, every breath I've taken, everything, every butterfly flap that's happened in the world, the butterfly effect, everything that's ever happened in the history of the world has brought me, and especially in my lifetime, has brought me to sitting in this chair right now talking to you. So I can't change last second, 10 seconds ago, 10 minutes ago, 10 years ago, 10 generations ago. I can't change any of that. I can't change my ancestors, my pigments. I can't change any of that. I have just this place right here, right now, to make a new agreement, to set a new course for myself, to make a new habit, to move forward, to bless others, to apologize and make a new agreement, step forward, apologize, make a new agreement when we mess up, because we do. And integrity is the ultimate test of character. Integrity means honoring your word. And when you honor your word, you win. And when we mess up, you do apologize, you'll make a new agreement, step forward, honor your next word, and build new habits. this little Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino, I believe is a very powerful in that regard about setting habits, new habits, and I'm in that journey right now myself. I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to take a look and visit with us today. It's been a huge honor and pleasure that I've gotten to share my heart with you, and I'm looking forward to continuing this series, this workshop series. Next week it is on forgiveness, and I will have another time for us to be together and another version of the Say Yes to Intentional Significance workshop series. Charla Anderson. Always choose joy, because all of it is a choice. Love one another as I have loved you. Be blessed. Have a delightful day. And take care. Love you.